Okay, so I had myself another conversation about the religious experience, this time with some non-believers. So it was almost fruitful, almost got somewhere, but let's try and clarify. So for all of you who are in that stream with Nathan, if you are listening, Pine Creek, if you're listening to, this is for you, so we're clarifying. If I see X in the driveway, now the first couple of things I'm going to tell you are non-negotiables, guys. A lot of the people in that stream were already quarreling with things they shouldn't be quarreling with. So let's try and clarify this so there's no confusion. When I spell this all out, there are only a couple of options available to you, the practicing skeptic. I don't believe you, Craig. Okay, fair enough. Or I don't believe something external to you is prompting the experience. Okay, also fair enough. That's about it. So let's start from the beginning. If I see X in the driveway, however implausible X may have seemed to me prior to me seeing it, I am completely rationally justified to believe in X. The question is why? Because normally speaking, my senses, your senses, all of our senses evidence the world to me as it actually occurs. So me seeing something with my own eyes is 100 times evidence in favor of its actuality. So let's make it something implausible. Nathan brought up a fighter jet. I wake up in the morning, I see a fighter jet in my driveway. Now obviously I'm going to do a double take. Why? It's very implausible. So I rub my eyes. I look away for 5 minutes. I look back. Do I still see it? Yes. Is it probably there? I'm going to already be leaning towards yes. Why? Because my eyes, it is evident to my senses, in this case my senses being my eyes are there to evidence the world to me through sight of what actually is there. So I'm already going to be leaning towards yes. Now I can check my eyes. If I see it for north of an hour and I check my eyes, 150 times in that hour and it's still there, I'm going to be leaning towards it's actually there. Why? Because my eyes tell me what I see. My eyes see what, if my eyes are functioning properly, and I have no reason to doubt my eyes, they see something that's 100 times evidence in favor of it actually being there. That's what my eyes are there for, to show me, to tell me what is. What's in front of your face, Craig? I don't know. Open your eyes. Ah, a fighter jet. Now my wife comes out. She wakes up in the morning. I love you, Craig. I love you too, honey bunny. Yeah, that's how we roll in my house. You want that type of relationship? Be Christian. Convert to Christianity and pray long and hard and be Christ-like. I love you, honey bunny. I love you too, sweetheart. Jennifer, but perchance, look out in the driveway. Oh my gosh, a fighter jet. She sees it independent of me. How convinced am I that there's a fighter jet now in the driveway? However improbable it may seem, really darn convinced. That's really strong evidence in favor of its actuality. Why? A second person independent of me correlates the experience, the visual experience that I had. Now, to further the analogy, I could, at this particular moment in time, in the actual real world that we all inhabit, I could call up 100 people in the LA area who would come in the flesh, real actual human beings. I'd say, what do you see in the driveway? They would say a fighter jet. They would. Fighter jet. You see it too? Yes, we do. How convinced am I that there's a fighter jet in the driveway? Almost 100% certain. Almost 100% certain. Not only am I rationally justified to believe in that which I clearly perceive, if other people perceive it too, that's almost a slam dunk. So, now we have a Pine Creek Doug. Pine Creek Doug comes along. He's got to go, yeah, he's always got to show up. He's always got to show up, or Nathan in this case. Nathan, you come along. What's up, Craig? What's up, Nathan? All right. If you don't see it, let's say you come to my apartment and you don't see it, is the first thing I'm going to assume, even though my wife and I clearly see it, that we're wrong or we're deluded or we're mistaken? No matter how implausible it might seem to us at the time, we both have seen it independent of each other. Why would we be questioning ourselves if you can't see it too? That's not the only line of questioning. We should only question ourselves. You, if you were an honest agent, honest actor, and sometimes, Nathan, I think you are, would have to question, for whatever reason, I either cannot or will not perceive it. That's what we're dealing with. Now, for someone like Aaron, What is actually happening, if we further the analogy, when she was having religious experiences, she was very similar to the type of Christian I am. Now, I can account for her type of religious experiences. The only time I would stand by the fighter jet is if it was 100% resolute and clear to my eyes, and it was 100% clear and resolute to somebody other than me. Okay? Why? Because, again, my eyes are not in the business of deceiving me. Normally speaking, a healthy adult, your senses evidence the world to you as it actually occurs. They aren't trying to deceive you. To automatically assume that your eyes are playing tricks on you is not a good assumption. What would have gotten you killed, way back when in the jungle? How do you know it's a lion, Craig? It looks like a lion. How do you know? It's running red. You get eaten. You get eaten. Perhaps that's why there's so few skeptics from way back when. Why? Because they all got eaten. How do we know it's a lion, guys? Let's do some red. Okay. Normally speaking, your senses are in the business of evidencing the world to you as it actually is. They aren't in the business of deceiving you. Now, if you see a fighter jet, 1,000 feet away or a mile away and you can barely make it out, are you going to say that you for sure saw a fighter jet? No. Why? Because it's not very resolute. It's a low-resolution visual experience. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, we all understand, Stephanie. Thank you for joining the party. We all understand, Craig. This is a really good video. Thank you, Stephanie. It's a really good video for just myself. Thank you, Stephanie. Nobody really asked. I really like this video. Okay, great. Stephanie, stab it. You come in the picture, they're all going to pile up on, I don't know, one of us. Okay, so if I see a fighter jet way off in the distance and it's hard to make out, that's called a low-resolution visual experience. Do I say I know for sure there's a fighter jet? No, I don't. And if my wife can barely make it out, do we say if they're for sure there's a fighter jet there? No, we don't. If we see it up close and clear for north of an hour and it's really, really visually right in front of our eyes, you open your eyes and you really see it, and my wife sees it too, that's 100 times evidence in favor of its actuality. There is no getting around that. However implausible it might seem to some other person is irrelevant. Now keep in mind, when my wife and I were having these religious experiences, we've been having them for 15 years, 20 years. And we didn't know any skeptics or atheists 6, 7 years ago. None. I wasn't on Twitter, wasn't on YouTube. So there's no reason for us to be faking it to each other. Let's pretend that we really believe in God now. Sweetheart, yeah, why? Just in case an atheist asks us, "Were you guys justified in your faith? Are you sure you really just..." Well, let's pretend that we really believe this. Now, there are a lot of types of Christians of the type I am talking about, but they aren't every Christian under the sun. It's a specific category of religious experience. That's very important to understand. And one day there will be a diagnostic criteria for the specific type of Christian that I am and some of the people I know are. It's not everybody. Okay, there's a Holy Spirit encounter experience would be one type of specific diagnostic criteria for that experience. And one day there will be. It's why I keep saying science on my side. All the things I'm telling you are non-negotiable. One day they will hook people up to gizmos and gadgets, and everything I'm telling you is provable fact. The only thing under discussion, the only bone of contention between me and a non-believer, if you're a skeptical person or an atheist or an agnostic, the only bone of contention is what is prompting the experience. Something external to me or something only internal. That's it. That's the only bone of contention, guys, and I'm almost positive I can prove external. Why? Because it correlates with the reality that I experience of my lived life almost daily. Now, how convincing is this experience? How easy to generate? Simple. I can get off this video, I can put this thing aside, I can turn on a worship tape, and within 5 minutes, I will be experiencing subjectively what the Christians call the peace of God. Within 5 minutes. You know Pine Creek's pen experience? How confident am I? Exactly as confident of the dropping of the pen. Again, this is not a faith claim, guys. This is an experiential claim. It's not a faith claim. Whether it's the Holy Spirit of God or not, that's a theological discussion, that's faith. But whether I turn on a worship tape and start worshiping along with the music, within literally 5 minutes, I will start experiencing subjectively what I refer to as the peace of God which passeth all understanding. That will happen every single solitary time without exception. And there will be no variations. And I am just as confident that that will happen as Pine Creek Doug dropping a pen on the table. I'm exactly as confident, 100%. This is an experiential claim. This is not a faith claim. I will turn on a worship tape, and within 5 minutes, I will start seeking the Lord. Within 5 minutes, I will experience what the Christians refer to as the peace of God. And you could hook me up to a gizmo and a gadget machine, and it would register, this guy is feeling peaceful right now, really chilled out. You don't sound really chilled out, Craig. You sound really excitable. You know, I don't know what to tell you. It's how I make my videos. People think I'm shouting all the time. Not really shouting. This isn't shouting in New York. It's really not. It's really not, I promise. You really don't want to hear me shouting. I'm walking here. I'm walking here. Hey, you looking at me? You want to get knocked the F out? You want to get knocked the F out? Who you looking at, son? That's me. That's me more along the lines of shouting. So I'm not actually shouting right now. I am excitedly proving my point and having a fun old time doing it. Now, okay, so one of the things that got brought up, and I don't want to repeat myself in these videos, but I have to because a lot of skeptics are not on the same page. Just because something can be mapped out internally by your brain chemistry, that does not negate an external prompting. Now, I've explained this time and time again. Some of the people, this is my video, will get sick of it. If I eat a piece of chocolate cake, the way that my brain registers the cake is through firings in my brain chemistry. As far as my brain is concerned, the chocolate cake is a drug too, just like anything else. I know it has external reality. Why? Because I can see it with my own eyes. It is evident to my senses. Doug doesn't ask me gotcha questions about my cake. Why? Because he can see it too. In the case of the religious experience, okay, the only discrepancy here is that there are certain people listening to me who cannot perceive what I say I am declaring I clearly perceive. That's it. That's the only discrepancy. Now, in the case of Erin, she had very similar experiences to me, but here is the gotcha. Gotcha, Erin. No. I thought it was funny. Gotcha, Erin. No, you didn't, Greg. I don't know. I only have one female voice, Erin. I apologize. Otherwise, I'd give you a voice. I can't make you Stephanie, so I don't know what to do. Make me Stephanie. All right, Erin, Stephanie. What? What, Greg? You're fired. You're now Erin. Erin, you're Stephanie. Oh, good. I only have one female voice. What do you want me to do? All right, Erin. Gotcha. I'm just playing. I'm not trying to gotcha, Erin. I like Erin. I'm not trying to gotcha, Erin. Don't worry. You had spiritual experiences too, correct? But from my understanding, and I don't know if this is true for you for a fact, but I know for a fact this is true of John Steingrad. I heard this out of his own mouth. He wouldn't stand by them. So the jet in the driveway was something, if I asked him or probably you, when you were a practicing Christian, do you see the jet in the driveway? You wouldn't say yes. You'd say, I don't know. I think I see it. I think I can make it out. What is that, Craig? That's called a low-resolution spiritual experience. That is what Erin had when she was a practicing Christian. Were they spiritual experiences? Probably. Was there some form of transcendent other that she was in contact with? I'm guessing yes. She thinks no. But if she were actually in my tutelage at the time and she were available for instruction and I were her pastor, what I would tell her really simply, there's a way that you can amplify these experiences. It's what a Christian is supposed to be doing. Cultivating these experiences and amplifying them. And there's a path of amplification wherein they become more real and more vivid to the practitioners. And that is what I would teach her how to do. And it'd be really easy to do. Really easy to do. So that lack of vividness, that lack of clarity that she's now reporting, which I totally believe her about, by the way, did I mention that? Erin, I totally believe you about your religious experience. I don't think you just wanted to be a, what was it, hoe? I don't think you just wanted to be a cheap hoe and get guys. But here's a caveat, Erin. Please do yourself a favor. You seem like a nice girl. You're in a happy marriage. Keep away from Deep Converted Man. Do not stream with Deep Converted Man. Do not go on his channel because he will get you. He does it all the time. He's smooth as silk. He will acquire you as a female. It doesn't matter. He's cold-blooded that way. It's a female. I don't care if I destroy her family. I got to have her. And then he'll put his little Deconverted Man moves on you, and that'll be it. So stay away from him. If you want to stay holy and pure. I want to stay holy and pure, Greg. I'm an atheist. All right. Where was I? So, Erin was in churches, had very similar experiences to mine, but they were low-resolution spiritual experiences. Not all that compelling or convincing. At the time, they were somewhat convincing to her. They weren't 100% real to her. The type of Christians that have the experience that I'm talking about are rare. They're few and far between, and even in the church I attend right now, there's only a handful. There's only 20 or 30 or so. Some of the rest of them are really committed Christians too, but they are not as available to the spiritual experience. It's something you have to be available to, and there is a methodology of cultivation, and it's not negotiable. And you have to sacrifice somewhat in order to cultivate the methodology. If you want this to become really real to you, you got to amplify it yourself, and you have to choose to do that. Now, I can teach people how to do it, but the decision to do it is up to them. And if she were a practicing Christian under my tutelage, I could teach her how to amplify her experience. My experience with people, even practicing Christians, even committed Christians, is that they just don't do it. Had more than one example of time where someone said, one guy started, teach me how to be a Christian again. And, you know, within a week, he was balking at the instructions. Within a week, 2 weeks, I forget exactly. He was an atheist. You know, I was friends with him on Twitter. Teach me how to be a Christian again. Some people actually want to be Christians, and some people actually, want to really connect to the ontology. It's easy to do, but it requires commitment. And that part of it is non-negotiable. It's easy to amplify a spiritual experience that is 100 times more real to you. But you can't circumvent the actual participating in it and doing the rituals and amplifying what you can't. You have to deepen your relationship to the rituals. It's non-negotiable. It's not something that can just occur. It's something that you can get little glimpses of and little kindlings in you, and then it's up to you. And the Christianity talks about this a lot. In the Bible itself, they say, blessed are they who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. In other words, blessed are the people who commit to this experience and heavily desire it. There's a path of amplification, and it's easy to do. But there's choice involved in this. Whether people are going to do it or not is up to them. In my experience, people struggle with this, even practicing Christians. Why? It's what the Bible calls obedience. As many as are led by the Spirit of God, they shall be called the sons of God. How many are actually led by the Spirit of God? Not very many. Not very many who put themselves in the category of really, truly practicing, committed Christians. Not very many are actually led by the Spirit of God. But that's just a little aside, neither here nor there. Now, so, Erin, I can account for her. Yeah, you can account for her too. There's no God, and therefore she got sick of church. I'm sick of this church. Right, there's no God. Okay, so we can account for her too. Well, there's no God. All right, fine. But my way of accounting for her, ultimately, I'm pretty sure I can prove. That's the point. None of you have to believe me right now. Everything I am claiming is an experiential claim of the real material world, which means it can be empirically verified for. The reason why I'm almost positive I can prove it's something external to me is because I've met enough people and I was trying to explain this on Nathan's channel. It's really hard to explain to an unfriendly audience. And I don't mean you guys were being unfriendly, you're being pretty nice, but you don't want me you don't want me to be right. So you act as such. You start you put on your atheist hat, and Nathan, you're not a committed atheist yet. You should stop being a tribal loyalist altogether. Why? It's unbecoming. It bothers me that you become a tribal loyalist sometimes. You're not an atheist yet. You say that you care what's true, and sometimes I really believe you. The Nathan I knew from a couple months ago had a lot of integrity. And sometimes it is still there. Sometimes you're easy to talk to and want to have real conversations still there. Other times you become a tribal loyalist, where you're just trying to score points for atheism. Some of the stuff you were saying to me, I can account for, but I can't account for it if someone's trying to debunk, dismiss, discredit. You should look at the fact that you were trying to do that. There is nothing to debunk, dismiss, or discredit. Everything I'm telling you is the God's honest truth and is perfectly consistent with my experience, and I'm not demanding that anybody believe in God. So if you care what's true, you should just listen to me and try and correlate it with the world as you understand it, and you will find that it matches up perfectly well. There are a wide variety of religious experiences. I do not stand behind all of them, nor should I be asked to. That's you trying to move the ball. If I eat a piece of chocolate cake, I am experiencing that chocolate cake. How do I know? My brain chemistry clues me into the fact that I'm experiencing that qualia as I perceive it. Are there some people somewhere in the world who think they're eating cake and aren't? Yes. What do they got to do with me eating a piece of chocolate cake? Nothing. That's what I was trying to explain. When I am talking about my religious experience, I am talking about a specific phenomena. It is a vodka bottle labeled X. It is phenomena X and phenomena X alone that I am talking about. It is not any old religious experience under the sun. Are some of them delusion? Sure. Might mine be a delusion? Yeah. But if you're actually listening and paying attention and playing along at home and trying to discover what's true, it is not consistent with delusion. That's what I'm telling you. If it were a delusion, I would not be, if it were just a figment of my imagination, here's one discrepancy that would be literally, how do we account for it? And this is the actual experience of my lived life. That's why I can know when someone's jerking my chain almost immediately. Why? Because I'm telling you stuff from the actual experience of my lived life. These aren't theories about religious experience that I heard about somewhere to lay down an apologetic. This is something I have experienced long and hard over a decade. And it's the most important thing in my life. I have only 3 things I care about. Really, honestly, my religious experience, my beautiful wife, and my sweet little cat. That's it. Everything else is in, I don't know, whatever. You guys still there? Not that interested. Not really that interested, guys. You know, what about me, Steph Frank? Yeah, Stephanie. And Stephanie, and I guess Aaron is Stephanie the same person. I don't know. I don't have a second female voice. What do you want me to do? So, this is stuff that I have, you know, sweat blood over. This is stuff I've thought long and hard about and I've experienced for north of a decade. So I can tell immediately if you're playing games and don't really want to hear. There's not that much you can do to be skeptical of. You can not believe me, or you can not believe that God's prompting it. Again, fair enough, fair enough. Not asking that you believe that God is prompting it. But you have to listen clearly and correctly as someone who cares about what is true. Because there is a way to correlate all of these different experiences. All of them, and account for them. And if my particular religious experience was solely imaginary, there are a lot of things of the actual experience of my lived life that would literally be, couldn't occur. So I go to a church on Sunday, every Sunday without exception. And every Sunday, this is what I was trying to explain to you guys, okay? Every Sunday there's an altar call. And in that altar call, at least 15 or 20 people become Christians on the spot. Why? Because the experience in the church is real enough to them that they go, you know what? I actually do think this is God. Forget what the skeptics say. I'm pretty sure this is God. That happens every single Sunday. Hold on, I gotta get that. All right, so I got cut off. I apologize. Wifey wife called and I had to take the phone call. And it was really quite annoying because she just called me up to ask me if I wanted a Redbox, which is nice. It's one of the DVD machines we have around here. But then, I don't know if any of you noticed this in the coronavirus eras, there's no real movies being made, so they don't update and they just have this terrible selection. So it turned out to be a total waste of time. I suggested something with Russell Crowe called Unhinged, and she was like, doesn't look good, Craig. So I got nothing, and I got interrupted. Now, I'll wrap it up, and I'll check this video over to make sure it's presentable. The long and the short of it is, and again, this isn't the only time I'm going to be talking about this, and I've explained some of this stuff in detail in other videos. So I don't really want to repeat myself, but then I find new people who haven't really, been following me from the start. None of this should be anything that any atheist or skeptic should be arguing about. Everything I'm telling you in terms of the experience is provable fact. It's not a faith claim, it is an experiential claim. Now, what I've inferred from the experience, that falls under the banner of faith or theology. The only reason I've decided it was the Holy Spirit is the first place I was taught to have these experiences was in a Christian church. But I'm not claiming that you need to believe that it's the Holy Spirit of God. The only thing I'm claiming that I can prove, and I'm pretty sure prove, is that it is not solely a product of my imagination, that there is something external to me that is at least present in the experience if it's not actually prompting the experience. And I'm almost positive I can prove that. Because that's what corresponds to the reality of what I experience every single solitary day of my life. Now, the other thing that is non-negotiable. Aaron had very similar experiences to me, but they were low-resolution versions of the exact same thing. A low-resolution experience of any type is not that convincing or compelling. You don't necessarily believe it. Even a low-resolution audio experience, if I say, hey, did you hear that? Would you promise that you heard it? No. In order for experiences to be compelling and real to you, and this is just a basic paradigm of reality, they have to be amplified to the point that you're actually directly experiencing them. Now, you can do that with religious experiences. The only claim I'm making. There's a path of amplification, and Christian churches were functioning properly to be teaching people to do it all the time. As it is, they aren't and they don't. But when Erin was a practicing Christian, and if she came to me going like, I'm really struggling, sometimes I feel like I'm connected and sometimes I feel like I don't, I would teach her how to feel connected all the freaking time. All the freaking time. It'd be really easy to do. Could I do it now? I don't know. Once someone crosses over into skepticism, not sure. If you want to see me, I was originally trying with a guy, that was the experiment we were doing. I was doing it with Pleasure or Doubt. You can go watch those videos. And my claim to him was the same claim I'll make to almost anybody listening to me. If you were to follow my instructions and participate in religious experiences as per my instructions, within a period of about 5 or 6 months, you would move from I don't believe in God to probably I'm not really sure anymore. Might even move to I'm pretty sure there's something. Pretty sure there's something, don't know what it is. Now, don't know what it is, I'm sure there's something, don't know what it is where most Christians should be. The fact that they have this strongly committed doctrinal, this is what they assent to doctrinally, doesn't mean that's what they experience or actually believe. So you have to correlate when you're talking to Christians, and no atheist or skeptic does this. Why? Because you're in the business of debunk, dismiss, discredit, not understanding or finding truth. The only person who does this right, as far as I'm concerned, all the time is Joe Schmid. Joe Schmid so habitually steelmans Christianity that when people actually hear him talk, and this is to God's honest truth, he was on Shannon's channel, and mostly atheists were complaining about him in the chat. Why? Because they thought he was a Christian. That's how good he is at steelmanning Christianity. Everyone was like, who's this theist? Who's this theist guy? That's how you're supposed to be. Nathan, looking right at you. That's how you should be all the time, Nathan. I do believe that you have integrity. Now you need to have spotless integrity a la Joe Schmid, which means you need to steelman the religious claimants all the time. And stop correlating, stop jumping to the ones that you're pretty sure are false so you can prove a point. This isn't propaganda. There's no victory to be achieved here. It's about figuring out what is true. So you should be steelmanning Christianity all the time. That's every single atheist or agnostic listening to me. That should be what you're doing. And most of you aren't. Most of you aren't. You should be doing it all the time. That's how you get to truth. When somebody is claiming experience X, you don't go to the weakest possible claimants of that experience and start dealing with them. You go to the absolute strongest. Same thing with if you wanted to find out if miracles were true. You go to the strongest possible miracle claim you could find. The most compelling, the most clear-cut, the most backed up by the evidence. You wouldn't even bother with 95% of the claimants. And that's what you constantly ask me to do when you bring up religious experience. Hey, there's a whole bunch of them out there somewhere that aren't that realistic or plausible. Do you believe in them? No, I don't. But they're irrelevant to what I'm talking about. If I had a miracle happen to me, I would only be telling you about the miracle that happened to me. All of the other miracle claimants would be totally irrelevant to the miracle I would be telling you about. You understand that, correct? Correct. Do you understand that, yes or no? Yes, we understand that. Okay. Same thing with the religious experience. I'm telling you something that I directly experience all the time, really easily, round the clock, without a moment's hesitation. It's experiential claim, and it's really easy to reproduce it myself. As easy as dropping a pen on a table. I am that confident I can reproduce it because I do it 100 times out of 100 on any given day. So I'm just as confident as the pen hitting the table. Just as confident, 100 times out of 100. That is not a claim that God exists or God is definitely present in the experience. I am only claiming that if you were to participate in the experiences as per my instructions, it'd be a lot harder for you to shake off the reality of the ontology that I think is present in the experience. A lot harder to. You might still be able to do it, just saying it'd be harder. And if you actually cared what's true, that's the challenge that you would present for yourself. You would start steelmanning me and steelmanning Christianity. Why? Because that's the path to truth. And that's the only path to truth. Hallelujah. It's the only path to truth, guys. The only one. So, with that, I will wrap her up. I will wrap her up in a nice little package. She's the sweetest little cat in the world. Sweetest thing on earth is this little cat. You sweet little baby. She's a little baby. It's the sweetest cat in the history. It's the sweetest cat in the history of the world. Only 3 things I really care about. My religious, my walk with the Lord, my beautiful wife, and the sweetest cat. Maybe I'll switch the order. Should I switch the order and put the cat on top and the wife on bottom? It's the sweetest cat in the world. You got to see the cat. I swear to God, it's the sweetest cat in the world. All right, no, I'll keep wife second. All right, it's all right, fine. Fine, wife is second. Oh, she's yawning now. The sweetest thing you ever seen in your life. So, there you have it, kids. That's all for now. That is religious experiences in a nutshell. Really good video, if I do say so myself. Really solid, excellent points. And, I'll make another video on the subject relatively soon. And Nathan, if you're still listening, I'm not still listening, Craig. If you're still listening, that's my Nathan invitation. You don't like it? We can stream about this again. It's not a big deal. We'll have plenty of time to talk about this in months and years to come. I'm going to stream about this with Aaron relatively soon, probably sometime in December. So, there you have it, kids. That's all for now. Mass is ended. Go in peace. Amen.